Hey guys, welcome back to NBAV, the NBA avenue for talking about all fresh takes NBA, and we're your NBA venue for a great time. I'm testing out my new audio setup, so let's do a little run through of the last couple of days. Today's January 14th, 2024. We had NBA action on Friday, we had NBA action on Saturday, and today is really a day that should be dominated by the NFL. But the NFL totally screwed it up. They put two games on a Saturday. So instead of having a full wild card day of football on Sunday, they had two games on a Saturday. And then there's another game that was supposed to be today on Sunday that got pushed off to tomorrow due to inclement weather. And they were having a Monday game anyway. So now they have two Saturday games, two Monday games. And you're sitting here on wild card weekend on a Sunday and you have no games until 4:30 Eastern. Makes absolutely no sense, but that's why we're here to talk NBA anyway, the more interesting sport in my opinion, although a lot of the world doesn't agree with me. But let's run through a little outlook of the NBA, testing the new audio setup. Hopefully it comes through nice and clear for you guys. We have from Saturday night's games, Celtics beating the Rockets pretty easily. And then we have something sort of interesting where the Wizards beat the Atlanta Hawks. They beat them by a lot, almost by 30 points. They beat them 127 to 99. And while the Hawks can play well at times when Trae Young is on the floor and DeJounte Murray is on the floor, mainly Trae Young, but when Trae is on the floor, they are a good team. They also have Bogdanovich and they have Capella. They have some people who can score. They're up and down, but they have the capability of playing like a good team. When Trae Young is out of the game, they're a pathetic team. They're completely pathetic. They have guys like Okongwu and Sadiq Bey trying to run the offense, and it just doesn't work. They are so shallow as a complete team, and that's what really kills them. It's if Trae is having a good night and he plays the whole game or virtually the whole game, they can win and they can put up a fight. They can be a play-in playoff team, and they can put up a fight against anybody and make it exciting. But Trae Young is basically guaranteed to have to play the entire game for them to stand a chance. It's exciting, but they need to round out the team a lot more. And if they can trade DeJounte Murray and get a few ancillary pieces, maybe a couple of guys who can shoot, which isn't exactly DeJounte Murray's strength. He's a good player. He's not a bad player, but they clearly have all of their chips invested in the top two or three guys, and they don't have anyone around Trae Young who can shoot the basketball. It's Trae Young, it's Johnson and DeJounte Murray, and then outside of those guys, not much else. So, if you have a setup more like the Phoenix Suns, where your top three guys are Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, if all three of those guys are playing consistently and not getting injured, maybe that can work because your top three guys are so good. And similarly with what the Clippers have been experiencing, if you have James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George, and they're all playing, and then you add in a center to that, like Zubac, that can work. But if your top three guys are Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, and Jalen Johnson, that's a pretty steep drop off from Durant, Beal, and Booker, or from Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. So you have those top three invested, and then the rest of the team is pretty pathetic. That's not going to work. If they were to trade DeJounte Murray, which it seems like they wanted to, it seems like they wanted something around Emmanuel Quickley and a first-round pick. But obviously the Knicks didn't do that. The Knicks traded Quickley and Barrett over to Toronto for OG Anunoby. And the Knicks also won last night. What you had was a lot of teams playing without their best player. We've seen Joel Embiid missing games on the Sixers. Last night, the Knicks played without Jalen Brunson. Obviously, the Grizzlies are playing without John Morant for the rest of the season. Desmond Bane also went out in the third quarter of that game. And the Grizzlies obviously didn't have enough. The Knicks, without Brunson, managed to pull it off. They're the tougher team. They're the more committed team. They're playing within a system that really works. But they struggle when Brunson doesn't play because he runs the team and he runs everything. He runs virtually every play. And without him, they were turning the ball over. They were pretty lost. But what they have to their credit is they get a lot of offensive rebounds. Hartenstein is playing like a monster inside. And they can pull it off against a really, really shorthanded team like the Grizzlies, who have essentially a lost season that they're in the middle of. But a very interesting thing to bear in mind when you're talking about the Knicks is how to make an effective trade. And there's a blueprint for how to get the most out of a trade. And one of those ingredients on that blueprint is insider trading to an extent. What I mean by that is not that it's actually insider trading, but it's that you have information that the other NBA teams, the other 29 teams, do not have. And for the Knicks, that information was that they have Miles McBride, Deuce McBride, as he goes by, on the bench. He was playing in the G League. And they believed that bringing him in, he could fill in all the minutes that Immanuel Quickley was giving them. So when the Knicks send Quickley away, they already know that they have Quickley's replacement. So by sending Quickley out with Barrett, who the Knicks were, I guess, sort of out on, they felt he was a little redundant with the other pieces that they had. Plus, he wasn't providing much in the shooting department. Attach him with Immanuel Quickley, getting back OG Anunoby, but you already have Quickley's replacement. So you didn't even lose anything in your mind if Miles McBride is able to come in and do the job that Quickley's already been doing. And McBride looked pretty good last night. He's a very efficient player from what we've seen from him, both in the G League and so far in his limited time at the NBA level. And they saw this in Summer League. And the Knicks were waiting. They made the move. And they believe that if they are right, if you think you know your organization as well as you really do, you can make a trade like that, give up something valuable and Quickley, and fill that right in, but also adding the piece of OG, and now you're really in business as a team. The Bucks beat the shorthanded Warriors playing without Steph Curry 129-118. And what did we really expect from the Warriors? They did absolutely everything that they could. The Bucks just beat the Celtics. They're feeling themselves right now. They're trying to capitalize and win a couple of games in a row, keep things tight with the Celtics atop the Eastern Conference. And the Warriors, with Trace Jackson Davis and Brandon Pajemski and Clay catching fire last night, they really kept it close, but they didn't have enough. They're playing without their best player, Steph Curry. Unfortunately, that's really the problem with the NBA product, is that all the best players miss time frequently. But the season's 82 games long, so what are they supposed to do? Perhaps if the season was 70 games long, there'd be more pressure on everyone to not miss any games. As it is, there should still be a lot of pressure because, especially in the Western Conference, the race for the playoffs is so tight that you really have to be playing your best, because there's only going to be 8 teams, really 10 teams that make it. And then you don't want to be one of those play-in teams, so you really want to make it to the top 6 or top 7. So there should be a lot of pressure on every team, at least in the Western Conference, to win most of their games. But still, it seems over the course of 82 games, it's just not an option, and players need to sit out. And when we're watching and Joel Embiid isn't playing, Steph Curry isn't playing, Jalen Brunson isn't playing, John Morant is done, Desmond Bane has to leave, it's tough. So the Bucks beating the Warriors. Then we have the Thunder doing what they do against the Magic. And the Magic have lost a couple of games now. And I saw the Magic play the Phoenix Suns live at Footprint Center on New Year's. And it was clear to me that the Magic are a scam. They are a young team with one very good player in Paolo Banchero, who hasn't even come close to reaching his peak as a player. And outside of him, they have the Wagner brothers, and Franz obviously is viewed as the better player right now, and he has some slow-mo type moves. He's able to score. He's able to get to the hoop. But for the most part, the Magic are a weak team. They have Banchero and they have Wagner, and then they have a couple of point guards on the team who would really only be backup point guards anywhere else. They have a guy, Anthony Black, who is basically a complete zero for every second that he's out on the floor. And they rely on guys like Suggs and a couple of other point guards who are weak if you compare them to most of the rest of the league's point guards. You have Fred VanVleet. You have guys like Derek White. You have Jalen Brunson. You have Steph Curry, Damian Lillard. There's so many good point guards out there. Even compare the guys on the Magic to someone like D'Angelo Russell or Colin Sexton or Kobe White or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Jamal Murray. There's so many good point guards out there, and for the Magic to be throwing out guys like Jalen Suggs as primary ball handlers on this team in crunch time, that's not going to cut it. But they're a young team. They're moving in the right direction. They believe in themselves, but they're going to fall out of it. They're going to maybe be a play-in team at most. They're not going to be able to keep up this good record, this positive record that they've had. The Pelicans beat the shorthanded Mavericks, another team that's playing without their best player. They're playing without Luka. Pelicans able to pull off the victory, and we have the Bulls beating the Spurs. No surprise there. Bulls are playing pretty well right now. Spurs are going to lose almost always, except for when they play Detroit. And then you have the Jazz beating the Lakers. And the Jazz have just been doing this way too much. They're consistently, routinely beating teams that they should not be beating over the last couple of seasons, and at this point, we just have to take them seriously. You can't not take the Jazz seriously. Now, again, LeBron wasn't playing in this game for the Lakers, so just another one where the best player on the team, okay, you could say AD is the best player, but I think consistently on a night-to-night basis, LeBron is really the best player. AD is more up and down. Granted, he's been having a good year this year, but on a game impact-wise, LeBron, I still feel is the more impactful player because of how much the ball is in his hands versus how much the ball is in AD's hands, at least with running plays. When AD is trying to pass from the top of the key, he turns the ball over a lot, and he did that last night in crunch time against Utah. D'Angelo Russell was keeping them in it. He was playing pretty well. But as a team, the Utah Jazz are bought in. They're bought into how they're playing with Markkanen and with Olynyk and with Colin Sexton and with Ochai Agbaji. They are bought in. They're a bought-in team. Walker Kessler. They know how they want to play the game. And they believe in themselves, and they routinely beat teams that should be out of their league. We have a couple of games on the slate for today. The Pacers will be playing the Nuggets. That'll be a great game. We have the Hornets playing the Heat. The Heat should be able to, even though they're inconsistent, the Heat should be able to handle the Hornets. We have the Kings playing the Bucks. The Kings lost their last game, and they've been having a bit of an up and down year. The Bucks are hot right now, so you'd have to take the Bucks in that matchup against the Kings. The Bucks are at home. Clippers are playing the Timberwolves. Clippers have just been on an upswing for the last 20 games or so. The Timberwolves have lost a couple of games recently, so they're on a bit of a down. Timberwolves are at home. Should be a good one there, but the Clippers are definitely the hotter team. And then the Suns are playing the Trailblazers, so that's an absolute gimme. The Suns should 100% win that game. The Trailblazers are coming off a game that they lost by about 69 points, if I remember correctly, to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And that's pretty much going to round it out. So this is a day where it should be all NFL, Wild Card Sunday, but seems like we have a bit more exciting action in the NBA than in the NFL. So once again, this is NBA Ave, your NBA avenue for sports talk and conversation. We are your NBA venue for a great time, and hopefully the new audio setup is working, and we'll see you on the next one.